Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays a Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Wow, NL, you sound so much better until you coughed in the middle of saying the word. The joke's on you, it's the same day as the last two videos. But you know what I love, JVVTHM98s. Starting with Sack Dagger, and quite a lot of HP. Look at this. Look at this. I don't even need to use my tears. I can win a run with no arrow keys. With no arrow keys. With no... Okay, I gotta level with you. I'm not very familiar with the Flowbots' discography. I am, of course, aware of their most popular song. But I don't want you to be like, NL likes the Flowbots. Feels good, man. Because that would be giving you false impressions. It's not that I don't like the Flowbots, it's that I don't really know the Flowbots. I only know Handlebars. And then the diss track that the lead rapper did about Jake Paul or Logan Paul. I always get the Pauls confused. I'm not good with Pauls. You remember that movie with Simon Pegg, Jason Bateman, Nick Frost, Kristen Wiig? I can never remember the name of it. It's Paul. That's the joke. Anyway, we're not going to talk so much about movies because we talked way too much about movies in our last episode, and that's okay. You know, we're going to be doing a bunch of episodes over the course of my existence on planet Earth. You know, I really wish that had worked and I was not stupid, but one of these rooms is not like the other. Was there a double key room? Or is this a library situation? We've really been cruising lately, and I've been having a good time on that cruise through the 1,000 islands of possible Isaac victories. I just want you to compare and contrast the last two Ragman fights, if you would, for me, please. Give me a key. I beg you. The Ragman fight on our last episode took 1,000 years. I guess we're never going to get a key anyway, so it doesn't matter. Unless... Okay, fine. Okay, and I'll walk into the fire as well. Like I said, we're playing really well. It took 1,000 years. The one on this floor took about 1,000 milliseconds, aka 10 seconds. Just joking. Wanted to see who out there was paying attention and knew the metric system. What if, instead of the metric system, it was called the matrix system, and instead of everything being a multiple of 10, it was a multiple of the 1. Get it? That would, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is that a centimeter would be as long as a meter, would be as long as a picometer, would be as long as a kilometer, and I'm starting to realize there might be reasons this wouldn't work. Might defeat the purpose. Well, I'm coming up with bad ideas. What about an indie game called Defeat the Porpoise? I feel like maybe 2/3 of indie games out there are a flimsy premise based on a pun. Use your words, for example. What about Defeat the Porpoise? Just work with me here, okay? I'm throwing stuff at the wall. I'm seeing what sticks. Nothing's sticking yet, and that's okay. Really appreciate the spirit hard. To be honest, when I left almost 2 weeks ago now, by my standards at least, not by your standards, I was having a really cursed run of luck in Isaac. Now the thing with roguelites is that I really feel like, you know, people say every time a door closes, another one opens or something like that. Fundamentally, a false idiom. Doesn't make sense. Imagine how much work it would be if every time a door closed you had to open another one. Now what the expression really means is, you know, just because you lost one opportunity, it's an opportunity to do something else, and that's very true. You know, you didn't get that job that you were going for, hey, whenever one door closes, another one opens. It basically means instead of having a job, now you got time. What are you going to do with that time? That's the real question. I think it works in roguelites as well. Whenever one door closes, oh, we have PhD, we should definitely be grabbing these. Whenever one roguelite gets good, other ones get bad, at least from my own performance at them. So I was having a pretty good run of luck in Slay the Spire. I was actually able to win some Ascension mode runs, which is something that had been beyond me for almost my entire Slay the Spire existence. But I'm always happy when I just feel properly centered, even though that, you know, doesn't really make sense. I feel properly centered when I'm doing well in Isaac. When I do a whole Isaac run and almost don't have to talk strategy ever, that's when I feel at my best, honestly. Money? Little money, okay. I wanted to buy the key because obviously we want to go to our item room. Wouldn't mind getting Black Candle. Could have looked for something a little bit more aggressive, but I have to say, I probably do overrate Black Candle a little bit. It's a great item. It's probably not quite as great as I treat it. I treat it like it's a 10 out of 10 shop item. It's probably like an 8, an 8.5, and no curses is really just like, it makes me happy. Because it means I'm never gonna accidentally pick up a trash item. If I ever pick up a trash item, it'll 100% be on purpose. And you know, there's no danger of me not doing that. So I think we're good to go now. I like Flatstone. Flatstone is a cool item. It opens up all sorts of synergies, the likes of which, to be honest with you, I don't really know that well, which is part of the reason I'm excited to do more here. But I will say, we're a little too early for it to be that incredible. We need some more damage, I think, to really make it pop off. So pop off, I should say. So we'll be using Sack Dagger quite religiously here, pun intended, because of the room that we're in. And let's move along. You guys ever get in arguments on the internet? How do you feel about getting into arguments on the internet? I used to argue with my friends all the time on MSN Messenger. We would have arguments, all like just tone-deaf arguments, you know, where you're figuring out your place in the world. I remember, maybe this is why I wasn't as popular as I would have liked to have been. You know, a situation like this would happen, and then I'd be like, why doesn't anyone want to come to my birthday party? I was in 9th grade, and I had friends who pirated a lot of music. Not an unusual circumstance. And I was making the argument, you know, I was like, why do you pirate music? Like, don't you understand? Treble Charger needs your support, which is literally true, but simultaneously, like, are you a cop? Because if so, you appear to have left out some information, like telling me that you are one. I was basically a 13-year-old cop. By the way, if you're a law enforcement officer of any degree and you're watching this episode or many episodes recently, and I've done the if you're a cop, you gotta tell me, I'm not insulting the police. At least, I mean, I am insulting the police, but it's meant as a satirical insult, okay? Keep doing the good fight, you know, following the letter of the law, but also your own moral code. And try not to take offense to it, okay? It's just, it's easy shorthand for me. It gets the other millennials on my side, which is important because I crave that sort of approval, and that's really what it comes down to. One of my friends said, yeah, but what if you were starving and you needed food and you stole a loaf of bread from a bakery? Is that stealing? Because that's what piracy is to me. I need my music. Now, terrible argument, but I made the classic mistake of thinking it was a slam dunk. And I was like, that's the worst argument of all time, here's why. And then right after I said that, he was like, I was just joking. But I was already so mad that he had won the argument by making me upset. Because that's the way the arguments on the internet work. If you ever lose on rhetoric, you can win by just being like, I was just trolling, dude. What are you, mad? Looks like I'm smarter than you after all. I was playing a totally different game the whole time. Anyway. You still out there, Justin? How you doing? I apologize for that argument. That was not really, it was not necessary, nor was it, you know, becoming of a 9th grader to besmirch his friends for... I should have been living on the edge a little bit more. Kazaa, Light, Napster, Bear, Share, etc., etc. I just have no patience for it in today's day and age. I see arguments on the internet all the time. This is why I don't ever tweet anything even like slightly related to politics. For one, there's a couple of good reasons for that. By the way, of course I'm gonna like quintuple down on that. There's a couple of very good reasons for that. One of them is that I have political beliefs, but they're very poorly formed. I don't really think we want Unicorn Stump. I will take... No, let's go a little bit more aggressive, see if we can get something else. You know, I have a place where I stand on the political spectrum, but I stand there mostly because of the way that it makes me feel, as opposed to me having had, like, a gladiatorial combat in the marketplace of ideas, and this one came out on top. I was like, these are the things that I value, these seem to be the people who value the things that I value, so I'm on their side, you know, for most things, but not for everything. So that's one reason, is that if push came to shove, I would have to justify my beliefs, and, you know, I can do it for me personally, but they might fold a little bit under more scrutiny, I don't know, and I just don't want to invite that in my life. The other one is, man, being in arguments on the internet, it can really ruin your day. Like, I feel like it's one of the greatest sources of lost productivity. People always talk about, like, oh, you know, sickness, hangovers, Snapchat. These are the things that kill productivity in an office. Twitch.tv/Northernlion being so funny you can't concentrate on your work. I really feel like on the rare occasion that I end up in conflict with somebody on the internet, it ruins like a whole day. Like after every video I go check and I'm like, did that person say anything else? And I gotta go, you know, make sure that we're on bad terms still. I gotta own him. You know, it's just such a severe waste of time. I don't do it very much. That's why my tweets are almost exclusively A, bad, but also B, about stuff that I think is just funny. I think it's a more productive way. I get into arguments. I wouldn't say arguments necessarily. But I'm not shy about sharing my opinions in public that much, because I think in public's a little bit different. You know, in public, you have other tools at your disposal beyond just your words. You have, you know, body language and the tone of your voice and stuff like that. I know this seems like a little, you know, the hoity-toity, but I was having dinner when I was on vacation. I was having dinner with one of my parents' friends, and, oh, please, please. He is a home builder who is extremely wealthy. Like, unfathomably well. Not like Jeff Bezos level, but I'm talking like, you know, 6 houses across the world wealthy. Like, he's set, right? And we were having a discussion. He's like, you live in Vancouver. What do you think's causing the housing prices over there? And I'm like, short supply, you know, bad zoning regulations that make it impossible to build over 4 stories in most of the neighborhoods. The entire city being dominated by single-family homes for some reason instead of like every other contemporary city on planet Earth, you know, of a similar size, basically being dominated by high-rises. And he's like, yeah, maybe, but like, here's the thing. I'm in the business, and I think it's because the government makes it expensive to build. And I disagree with that. And it's not that I think that his expertise is wrong. I just think that he has an overly simplified view of the situation. He's discounting my expertise from being more familiar with the local issues, and I'm discounting his expertise from having been in the business. But we had a perfectly amicable disagreement about it. We weren't shouting at each other, and I feel like that's what's lost on the internet, is the fact that you can disagree with one another but still, like, you know, be on good terms. That's healthy. Internet arguments, it's a waste of time. It's like Alien versus Predator, man. Whoever wins, we lose. It was almost refreshing, though, to, you know, speak with somebody whose opinion I disagreed with, but who said it at least with respect to some degree to begin with. It was like a flashback to an earlier era. I was like, that's what it used to be like. We need, like, gentlemen's rules of debate to return. We need, like, a debate police to come around and be like, excuse me, ad hominem attack? That sounds like a Pokemon. Debater used ad hominem. It's super effective at making them feel bad, but not necessarily advancing the rhetoric or the situation. Anyway, how we doing on this run? We're right on schedule to be beginning, I should say, another anecdote. Unfortunately, I don't have one at the ready. So I guess, if you don't mind, we'll just sit in silence for a while. You know what? I do have a pet peeve. I want to bring this up because it's been driving me crazy lately. You know what's... And I'm not going to do it. You know what's annoying? People who don't respect etiquette on public transit. There's a recurring thread in every annoyance that I have in my life. One, well, there's many recurring threads. Of the phantom variety, Daniel Day-Lewis. One is that they're almost exclusively meaningless interactions that happen on a daily basis that only have a very minor effect on your life. That's how you know I've lived a relatively good life and a cushy life. Because the things that bother me, you're never going to hear me be like, you know what bothers me the most? Ulcerative colitis. You know, I don't have ulcerative colitis. I'm very thankful for it. If you do, I'm not poking fun at you. I'm giving you my sympathy. There was I was like a hypochondriac. For real. When I lived in Korea, I was a hypochondriac. I thought, this is no joke, that I had like basically some kind of terminal disease. What it really was, I'm pretty sure, was like stress and mounting anxiety from living in a country that I didn't speak the language of and really didn't make much of an effort to integrate myself into the culture, to be honest, even if they would have me to begin with. Which is debatable, but, you know, we don't need to necessarily get into that. So I would always, like, I'd have these stomach pains, you know? It's like Q-Tip says in Tribe Called Quest, We Got the Jazz. Like, getting stomach aches when you gotta go to work or staring into space when you're feeling berserk. Now, I don't really mind if it's over your head, because the job of resurrectors is to wake up the... Okay, we don't need to go necessarily further. I just wanted to prove that I had the street cred. You know, bust off on your couch, now you got Siemens furniture. I'm aware of the discography is what I'm trying to say. So I would spend, like, you know, probably, like, at least an hour a week Googling and being like, why would I go to a doctor when I could just figure out what I have online? And for a while, I thought I had ulcerative colitis. From reading reports of people that, you know, have ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, I definitely did not have ulcerative colitis, okay? So this is just my extended vetting for you to know that I'm being sympathetic to you, okay? I'm not using you as a punchline. And that goes for pretty much any situation. I rarely would use, you know, a disability as a punchline, except for my own obvious mental disabilities, which are on display every... What?! It did 2 hearts of damage. The jumping spider can do 2 hearts of damage. I'm very upset. What I can do is check and see, did England win their football match against Colombia? England advances on penalties, grabs last spot in quarterfinals. Look, I'm sorry if you're Colombian. That's a week ago when this match happened. That must have been hard. I'm not really rooting for England. I'm just rooting for the meme of, you know, it's coming home. You know, I'll always root for the meme in any situation like this. I'm not mad that we lost a streak, by the way. I'm always happy to learn something. I think this has happened exactly one time before. Like, that we have died in one hit with 2 HP left, probably to the same enemy. But I genuinely had forgotten, I guess, that there were enemies that they just do 2 hearts of damage. By the way, what is up with this floor? It's not Curse of the Large Rooms. It's Curse of the We Can't See Our HP. That seems a little convenient, but sure, okay, whatever you say. Anyway. What was I talking? Oh, yeah, I was saying I had a cushy life, okay? So I'm going to get back to public transit. I'm going to open, though, by saying there's something. If anyone ever razzes you about this on public transit, you tell them Northernlion said it was okay. I think you can eat on public transit. There's a couple of caveats. Do not eat complicated food. What is complicated food? Any food that requires any kind of utensil. Maybe I would allow you to use a fork if you're using it for solid food. Certainly, you cannot use a spoon and eat soup. That's just ridiculous, okay? Don't even ask. Judgment? I'll try it. I'll try it. But, you know, if you want to eat potato chips out of a bag, as long as you're not making a mess and you're not making too much noise, you're fine. And as long as it doesn't smell. You can eat a sandwich on the train, but it cannot be a stinky sandwich. You can't eat egg salad on the train. Otherwise, I give you my permission. I always see, you know, they do like these surveys. What's the most annoying thing on a train? And it's like someone eating. And I agree. If they're eating stew and it's spilling everywhere, or it's the world's stinkiest food, they're peeling like a bunch of hard-boiled eggs and leaving the shells on the ground. Otherwise, I think you're good. That's one breach of etiquette. Doesn't bother me in the least. And okay, much better. What do I not like? Well, let's keep going with the things I like first, because this is going to be a long video. Thank God I got that glass of water. I can rehydrate on the regular and not dry out my throat too badly. Another thing you can do, sit in the elderly or disabled seats until someone who is elderly or disabled, and this is another step, or if someone asks you, because disabilities are not always visible. If someone says, hey, could you get out of the seat? I would like to sit there. I will move, even if they're not visibly, you know, suffering from something. Because first off, you gotta, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Secondly, sometimes I actually prefer standing. Is anybody else in the same boat? I always, you know, I'll be walking around. I like to pace. I'm a pacer. Talking on the telephone doesn't matter. Hey, I have a large pepperoni pizza. I'm pacing like I'm closing $1 million business deal. It just feels right to pace while you're on the phone. People are always like, relax, sit down. I'm like, you don't understand. Sitting down is the antithesis of relaxing for me right now. I need to pace. Let Terry pace. Sometimes I just like standing, you know? If I've been standing all day, I'd rather sit. If I've been sitting all day, I'd rather stand. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So I think you're fine to sit in those seats until someone asks for them. But you do, like, you should get up if somebody is, like, if they're not older than you, but if they're, like, visibly, if they have gray hair, give them the seat. The worst they're gonna do is say no, then you just sit back down. I got yelled at once. I told this story, but it was 4 years ago, probably. I was on a bus. Man, I haven't thought of this story in a long time. In Vancouver, the bus was full. It got hit by a drunk driver. Didn't do, like, basically any damage. Just clipped the mirror or something like that. So everybody was fine. But we all had to get off the bus. They filed, like, an accident report. The police gave him a breathalyzer and, like, a sobriety test right there on the side of the road, because it was on a busy road, and arrested him. It was super wild. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before. Our replacement bus comes along, because I guess there is some liability to driving a bus with no side mirror. Things are pretty big. We all get back on the bus. I get back. I sit in one of the disabled priority seats, and a dude yelled at me, and he was clearly suffering from something. But he, for whatever reason, had gone all the way to the back of the bus to engage in this confrontation. Dude, this is too dangerous. Like, I want to, so I'm going to, but it is too dangerous. Let's go to the shop real quick, buy a spirit heart maybe. And he said, you're not disabled, are you? And I said, no. But there was also, and this is in my own defense, there was nobody else sitting in the, like, standing at all on the bus. Everybody was sitting down. All seats were accounted for. And then he called me an anti-gay slur, which was just, I didn't know how to respond to that, because I thought that he was accusing me of basically being ableist, and then he was being homophobic. It was a complicated situation. So, you know, I'm over it. I just had him killed later, because I'm very powerful and I'm well connected. Maybe you've heard of my website. It's called Craigslist. I don't know where I'm going with that. I did not have this man killed. If he's dead, which he might be, I had nothing to do with it, except maybe adding a little stress onto his bottom line. But you have my permission to sit in those seats until somebody else needs it. And, you know, it's a little bit of a gray area, I'll admit. But anyway, here's what you cannot do on a train. If you do this, stop watching the video until you fix yourself. If you are trying to get onto a train, you can't get on until other people get off. I apologize for what I'm about to say, because it really is judgmental, but everyone who does this is stupid. And I just want it to end, because it's ridiculous. It's like... I shouldn't have even come here. I don't know why I was thinking. I guess I got out of the mob trap room for free. Every single time I'm on a packed train, I gotta get off. I gotta push through, like, you know, 15 people to get off. It's not like people are impolite, you know, you just go, oh, excuse me, I gotta get off here, could you move, you know? You gotta stand up for yourself a little bit. While I'm trying to get off, like, 8 people rush into the train and make it harder to get away. It's not going to leave without you. The train goes bing, 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 and then 5 seconds later, the doors close. You got an audible warning. Just wait for everybody to get off the train and then get on yourself. I tweeted about this once, and this is why I'm rooting for England in the World Cup right now. A lot of English people replied to me, and they said, yes, that is a dreadful bother. And I said, what did you just say? And they said, it's annoying. And I said, all right, thanks for localizing your language for me, because I didn't know what the heck you were talking about. That's the one thing, okay? Another thing, I doubt anybody here does this, but I will, if you do, please God, let me help you be the change that we should see in this world. Nobody ever wants to hear your music over your phone speaker, okay? Just play headphones or no music whatsoever. It's probably more annoying. It actually makes me, I would almost, let me put it this way. I would rather, if you were listening to music on your phone speaker, I hope to God it's music I hate. Because if it's music I like, I can't listen to that artist anymore. Because apparently their fan bases are jerks, and I don't want to be associated with jerks. So if you're listening to, I don't know, like some Paul Simon's 1986 classic Graceland, you basically ruined that whole album for me. I don't know what you're expecting. Like, it's usually young dudes. I understand, you know, you want to show off. Check it out, baby. I got an iPhone 4. Listen to the speaker on this bad boy. It's got a built-in subwoofer. Jealous? No. Well, like a little bit for some of the features on the iPhone, but, you know, I digress. I don't think that's really what you were asking me. I'm being overly literal. As an Android user, I enjoy my device, but I do sometimes look at some stuff on the other side and go, that's pretty cool. But I don't know what they're expecting. Like some young debutante, as a callback, is going to be like, oh, is that the new Paul Simon album? And then you'd be like, nah, it's Graceland. She'd be like, it's good. Want to have intercourse? That's never going to happen. Probably. I don't know. Okay? I'm cut from an earlier cloth. That wouldn't have happened. Back then, it was like, oh, cool Beyblade. Want to make out? Now, maybe that is how you do. Maybe you demonstrate your value in the DENNIS system by listening to Paul Simon's 1986 album, Graceland. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Anyway, those are my only 2 gripes. That and the times that people don't get off when it's their stop, and then, like, the doors have been open for 30 seconds, and then they try to rush the doors at the very end, and then they sigh like somebody did them a disservice. It's like, didn't you hear the lady? The next stop is Granville. Exit here for connection to the Canada line. But I don't want to be so petty, alright? Everybody, you know, it's the thing. Everybody's living their own life. Everybody's the star of their own story. It's a hard thing to realize. You know, when I was a kid, I wasn't really bullied, but I did have some kids that over the course of, you know, 15 years of being in school with them, antagonized me. I don't like those people to this day, even though when they wronged me, you know, they were like 8 years old. And of course in your head, you think that this guy goes home and is like, I'm gonna be a bully, I'm gonna be the best bully I could ever be. He goes home, he feels sad. You know, he's got things going on in his life as well. I'm not saying that absolves him of any responsibility, just that, like, I really do think that everybody's, like, the good guy in their own story, because the more you know about somebody and their motivations, the reasons they do the things that they do, the more slack you're going to cut them for the most part, the more you're going to understand where they're coming from and assume that they have good intentions, and you're always going to assume that about yourself, especially. Do I want this? I think I want that. It's a hard thing to realize, though, I'll admit. Because, you know, we want clear-cut heroes and villains. But the thing is, you're probably, and this may hurt you, but you're probably the villain in someone else's story. I'm sure that I'm the villain to some people. I have met people in my life that just don't like me. I like to think I'm a pretty likable guy, but it has happened. And it you know, I'm the villain in their story. They're like, that guy's a jerk. Now in my head, I'm like, I'm not a jerk. Here's the reason I did the thing that I did. But they don't know that, and they don't need to. That being said, the only exception to this rule is if you're the kind of person that tries to push onto the subway train before everybody's gotten off. I understand, okay, not everybody's familiar with subway etiquette. Maybe you didn't grow up in a place that has a train. Neither did I. You know, it takes you a while to get up to speed. And different places have different rules. Did you know in Japan and Korea it's considered impolite to talk on the subway? I didn't until one day, like 8 months into living in Korea, me and my 2 English friends rode the subway home with a Korean coworker, and she looked so perturbed when we were talking, and we're like, what's wrong, Claire? And she's like, you're not supposed to talk on the subway. I'm like, oh, thanks. You know, like, it's not really your responsibility, but that would have been nicer to know the little bit of time to implement instead of me going home in like 3 weeks. So I'm like public enemy number 1 in a lot of South Korean stories, probably. This inconsiderate foreigner was on the subway. He had the audacity to speak English loudly. We definitely do want to use Black Rune there. I would totally take either of the 2 items from this. That's what I mean, you know? So there's a, you know, everybody gets a little bit of a leniency period for ignorance. Just wait for other people to get off the train. That's the only thing I ask. Alright, I can live with it. Relax. Did I go to the item room on this floor? I do not know. I will take PhD. Was that a one makes you larger pill? It's not. It's a health up. That's much, much better. Relax. Not that good. That's another relax. AKA not that good. That's another relax, isn't it? One makes you small. Okay, sure. Little breaches of etiquette. I don't know why. It's what gets me the most. You know, another common example. You place an order at a fast food restaurant. And then there's never like a clearly defined area where you wait for your order. It's always kind of like a little bit of a pandemonium. Happens at Starbucks all the time too. You place your order. It's not a complicated order. It's just a normal fast food order. Person behind you places their order. And then in the queue to wait for the thing to come out, the food item to come out, they sidle in front of you. And you're like, why? There's many things to consider here. It's called fast food. Mine will 95% of the time be out before yours. Why wouldn't you just stand behind me? You know what it is, in my opinion at least. They want to be the person that's in control. They want to make the call and be like, hey, is that a chicken sandwich? And they're like, nah, it's an order of french fries. They're, okay, just checking. I didn't want this guy to take my order accidentally. But anyway, I'm being way too petty this episode. It's not my, it's because I'm grasping at commentary straws, okay? I'm going through things that happened to me today. What happened to me today? I woke up very early to go to a meeting with one of the professional assistants in my life. I know that sounds like I was going to an illicit massage parlor. Nah, I was meeting my accountant. Why did I meet him early? Because he works a 9-to-5 job. Why does it have to be a male? It doesn't. It just is. Stop looking for things to be mad at, okay? In this case, my accountant, yeah, it's a dude. Does that offend you? I'm just being ridiculous now. Then what happened after that? I went to the coffee shop. And at the coffee shop, a couple people butted me in line in the orders area. And then whenever my iced coffee came out, they took a look at it. And they were like, that's not a caramel macchiato. And I was like, I know. Also, what is a caramel macchiato? Then I came home on the train. And here we are. I've been recording Isaac ever since. Just thank yourself, or thank your lucky stars, I should say, that we're not in the position where I'm, like, talking about my self-diagnosis of pneumonia. I'm not messing with you, by the way, about that hypochondriac stuff. I really was a hypochondriac when I lived in South Korea. There was a time, and this might be a little relatable, actually, which is rare for me. There was a time when I lived there that I was basically like, I'm probably gonna die here. Whatever is ripping my insides up is probably gonna murder me. The good news is I feel a lot better now, as ironic as that sounds, and I'm pretty sure that what was actually tearing my insides up was a combination of stress, anxiety, and then eating from the same terrible restaurant like almost every single day that I ate at because dinner was like $3.50 and also came out in a minute and a half. It wasn't fast food, but it was quick food, that's for sure. I went to a doctor. You ever find yourself... I have family members that are hypochondriacs as well. I'm not any longer. Now I have the opposite opinion where I'm like, nothing bad can ever happen to me. I'm in perfect health. Even as I have pneumonia, I'm like, maybe I'll go out for a bike ride today. Knock out a nice 30-mile bike ride. No, thank you. But I don't want to fall behind on my training. Like I got some important grand tour coming up or something like that. Lance is gonna beat me if I don't train harder. Who cares, dude? And I went to the doctor. And the doctor, this is in Korea, so it was like $8. It was beautiful. The doctor was like, there's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, I think you might need to pursue a new line of work because I'm dying. My grandma's like that. I have to watch out. You know, as you get older, I find myself picking up the traits of my family members that, you know, have influenced my life as long as I've been alive. That's not that bad. So, my grandma was a hypochondriac. Whenever I see hypochondriac instincts popping up in myself, I push it back down. I go, no, we're not going to go down this road. Every time. My grandma is basically like the grandma from The Room. I'll take this, but I do like parasitoid tears. You know, and this is not a joke. You know, if you haven't seen The Room, there's a character in it. It's Lisa's mom, and you know she's got it going on. She goes, nobody pays attention to me, and the worst of it is, I'm dying. And then Lisa goes, Mom, you're not dying. And she goes, no, I am dying. I got the results back yesterday. I definitely have breast cancer. And then they never talk about it again in the entire... Oh, I shouldn't have come in here yet. They never talk about it again for the duration of the film. It's just a plot thread. You're like, tell me more about the diagnosis. That is my grandma, though. Whenever I have a conversation with her, there's a chance that she'll be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have like a tumor in my stomach. And I'm like, oh no. And she's like, yeah, it's probably pancreatic cancer. And I'm like, Grandma, it's probably not. And then she's like, nah, I'm resigned to it. And then I'd see her 3 years later and no mention of it whatsoever. What would you do here? There are some good items. I think We have to try for SMB Superfan, because it gives us HP back immediately. My mom is that, or sorry, not my mom, my grandma's like that. My mom's not like that at all. But I do pick up things from my mom. I got a lot of anxiety from my mom. I realize every time I go back, I'm a little bit more like my parents. I also have many of my dad's tendencies, and Kate was pointing it out to me. A lot of people, I think, if you were like, you know, you're acting a lot like your parents, they take offense to it. I don't take offense to it, to a large degree. I like my parents, and I'm my own worst enemy. Very self-aware. Whenever my dad can't find anything, me and him do exactly the same thing. We'll be like, I need scissors. Go to the scissors drawer. No scissors in the scissors drawer. Honey, where's the scissors? Did you check the scissors drawer? Of course I checked the scissors drawer. What do you think I am, an idiot? Then, you know, Kate or my mom comes out, opens the scissors drawer. Wouldn't you know it, the scissors are in there. And then that makes me mad, because I'm like, why is my brain so bad? And I go, we should just throw out everything in the house that isn't scissors so I can find the scissors more easily. And she goes, that's irrational. And I go, yeah, but I'm mad at myself. So I'm saying all sorts of things I regret right now. Or anytime, like, I, you know, can't... We live in a very small apartment, just to be clear. Like, it's tiny. I know some people are like, I know that feeling. I live in an 1,100 square foot house. Nah, dude. We're in like a 700 square foot apartment. It's not like we're living in one of those tiny homes, but it is a home that is relatively tiny. So, like, you gotta be efficient with your space, right? So, like, whenever we put our vacuum cleaner away, vacuum cleaner's a pretty big device. We put it in a very tiny closet. It requires some rearranging sometimes. Every time I put away the vacuum... Oh, that's so bad. Every time I put away the vacuum cleaner, I'm like, we should throw out every possession in this closet that's not a vacuum cleaner. Kate's like, your EpiPen's in there. And I'm like, I know what I said. I'm a man of my word. Please let me get out of here now. Oh, we've done it. I'm so surprised. I thought we were gonna die. Probably deserve to. Is that the question? Well, I hate this. What have I done? Yep. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the HP. We'll probably live and do fine now, is my guess. And they lived happily ever after. But yeah, you gotta be on the lookout for, like, you know... Because you're... Don't take this the wrong way, Mom and Dad. But your parents, you know, they have you in the hopes that you're gonna be better than them. That you're gonna build off of their strengths and maybe also... Let's do it. You're gonna... You know, iron out their weaknesses and make, like, a perfect version of them. I think that's true to some extent. Like, you know, if I have a child, I'm not gonna be like, man, I hope this kid is good, but slightly worse than me to preserve my ego. I imagine when you have a child, it's like a nude, well, not for everybody. By the way, I didn't mean to say a nude. I meant a new degree of selflessness. That sounds like I made that up, but it's just my fever-addled brain. You know, I imagine it's like, you know, maybe you haven't always put other people before you in your life, but now you're like, this, all I want right now is what's for the best for this person. That's what I've heard from new parents, at least. Justice. To which I go, yeah, but I like sleeping till 10. All that fulfillment stuff sounds cool, but it's really just a genetic trick of the light. Nah. I don't need that money. We're doing all right here. Also, the first thing I'll say when we have kids. I didn't need that money anyway. All right, we're good to go here. That's great news. And an orbital is so strong. Excuse me. Thank you. But yeah, so, you know, when you notice those, like, negative... I don't even necessarily want to call them negatives, you know what I mean? But, like, when you notice those... might be considered character flaws from your parents creeping up, I think you got a responsibility to bottle it deep down inside and let it slowly consume you from the inside out, is what I'm trying to say. Mostly, I don't care as long as you get off the subway and let other people get off the subway before you get onto the train. Have I made myself clear? I hope so. I'm willing to give it a chance. I almost ran straight into that enemy for no reason. Alright, let's take a deep breath. Mostly you, because I can't without coughing for now. But, how's the Isaac run going? It's really, really good. We have HP. We have a great spacebar item for survivability. We can use it all the time. Careful. We don't have, like, any guppy ability, but our raw stats are good. No go on the raw stats. My Eve test is flawless. Regardless, we don't want to get involved with all the lawyers. If you ever get into content creation, as it's so colloquially known, it really, like, my advice for you, people are like, oh, is he going to talk about having a consistent schedule? Is he going to talk about how to maintain some semblance of a tether to the real world while being a content creator? No, it's not like that. What you want to do is have a suite of hip-hop lyrics available to you at any given time that refer to your situation. And if you don't have that, then I can't help you out, okay? That's like priority A number 1. And it can't be Who Let the Dogs Out every time. I know it's pretty gangster, but that's the problem, is that sometimes it's just a little too intimidating. When you bust out that Who Let the Dogs Out, it's it sends suburban moms cowering in fear at the emotional ferocity of the music. I mean, get back Fluffy, get back Scruffy, get back you flea-infested mongrel. Some of the hardest hitting hip-hop lyrics of all time. Why does so many hip-hop one-hit wonders turn out goofy? You think there's more goofy hip-hop one-hit wonders than any other genre? I know there's, like, you know, Disco Duck, The Streak, you know, Macarena, Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping. There's some pseudo-novelty songs in the pop and rock genre that have made it, but I'm thinking, like, Ice Ice Baby, Can't Touch This. I can't do that. I can't touch that, honestly. It's too dangerous. Who Let the Dogs Out? The Thong Song. Will Smith is not a one-hit wonder, but a lot of his movie-based tracks were goofy. I'll give, like, the Men in Black a pass, but I mean, come on. The Wild Wild West is a goofy song. I'm not trying to say it's bad. It's one of the first CDs I ever bought with my own money that was given to me for my parents for existing. Or given to me by my parents for existing. I'm just saying, there's a lot of goofy hip-hop tracks that have made it as one-hit wonders. Now, if you ever wanted to know how much of a rural environment I grew up in, I did, without even thinking twice, refer to Who Let the Dogs Out as hip-hop. I don't think that's hip-hop in hindsight. Maybe it's reggae. I don't know, but it's kind of just... I'd almost describe it as, like, kids' music. I don't know what genre Who Let the Dogs Out is in. Kids Bop? That seems like a song that was made by children and then later covered by adults. Excuse me. It's the kind of song that when it's made... You know, I don't know, I have to be honest with you. In the 90s, the early 2000s, everybody in the public had the wool over their eyes when it came to music. We were legitimately listening to Mambo No. 5 and being like, this bangs, I love Latin culture. I love authentic Latin music like Lou Bega's Mambo No. 5, where you jump up and down and move it all around. Throw your hands to the ground, put your hands to the sound, I don't know, something like that. A lot of instructions. I was told there would be no math. I do like a song that tells you what to do, though, because it takes a lot of pressure off of you in a wedding-based situation. Like, whenever you have to dance, so it's something I try to avoid doing as much as possible. I derive no pleasure from dancing. I know it's a pretty, you know, embarrassing thing to admit, but I just don't get it. So a song that goes, you know, it takes that pressure off of you and goes, you know what? Here's the way you handle this. That's up my alley. I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna do this. And I did it. We have I don't know how close we are to Beelzebub. I did it. Oh, Lord. Because I wanted better items, and almost all of the items that were in there did not appeal to me. But I hate losing Unicorn Stump. We could have waited for an opportunity to drop it off. But whatever. We're probably going to be fine anyway. Pencil's really good. Infamy's pretty good. Could save us the run. Not that we need it. I still am of the opinion this run shouldn't have even needed saving, because it shouldn't have even existed. We should have had our old run be fine, because we only got hit one time. It just happened to be for an enemy that did double damage. So if you get hit by that enemy on the womb, does it do 4 hearts, or 3 hearts, or still just 2? I need to know. Can you encounter that enemy on the womb? Can we erase that enemy from the game's Jake Gyllenhaal-inspired source code, please? You ever see that? It's a decent movie. I would recommend it. Are there plot holes? Who cares? When you watch the plot of the movie, it's a little ridiculous to begin with. You don't really need to be the guy who's coming in and going, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I don't want to go off on the science tangent again. I was reading more about that today. I feel like science is going through a renaissance. Everyone remembers where they were when they saw the scene where the alien walks across the camcorder at the birthday party. Probably up there with like 2001: A Space Odyssey for some of the most iconic cinematography in history. It's that, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the Transformers: The Dark of the Moon. And if you don't agree with me, then you don't know what sarcasm is, mister. And I bet you're the kind of guy, don't say the subway, who gets onto the subway train as other people are trying to get off, pushing old ladies out of the way. I want to be on the train. Look, if you live in a major city, you understand where I'm coming from. And if you don't, no better time than the present or something. All I want is to make it through this run, forget about the loss that was handed to me so brutally and undeservedly, and live our lives in peace and harmony, and then stop rhyming accidentally. Oh my god, it can't be done. Too many words end with Y to avoid the rhyme. Half of the floor already handled, present and accounted for. Half of the floor to go. What an interesting prospect. I have to be honest with you, my eyes, there's tears pouring down my face right now because I have one single sustained cough just sitting at the back of my throat, waiting to go, but I don't want to do it on video. What is this? This is, I mean, it's hemolacria, obviously, but like, is it good? It seems not bad. Is that the same as good? Let's just say for now that it is. Big Pharma, you've been taking a lot of heat, okay? I followed the story of Valiant Pharmaceuticals. It doesn't paint you guys in a good light. You would really, really get on my good side if you could come up with a cure for the common cold. I mean, what's taking you so long? Oh, it's not that easy. What do you mean it's not that easy? You ever hear a little expression called, try harder? Here, I'll even give you the scoop. You know, you get the genome of the bacterias that cause the common cold, and the viri that cause the common cold, and just invert. Just send them the exact anti-pattern of the gene. At the very least, it'll mess them up, right? They'll be too busy bonding genetically with their soulmate to infect people. Colds are real jerks, but you gotta think like, you know, you're like the villain in the story of a cold that's just living its own life. Okay, I should probably stop recording Isaac today. These are feverish observations. Well, I'm still cognizant enough to understand that this is the ramblings of a fevered man. let me just say thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.